In this live coding session, we do test-driven development of SwiftUI, and we're using a third-party tool to help us do that. But we run up against the edges of how far the tool goes. Then what do? We face kind of a puzzle, and so that's what you'll see in this recording of the live coding. Here we are again. Welcome to the Quality Coding live stream. My name is John Reed. I am an iOS developer and coach. For folks who are joining after the fact on YouTube, hey, welcome. Check it out. If you enjoy the first however long you watch of this, give it a like. You know, I don't expect people to watch the whole thing. This is live coding for 90 minutes. Well, minus this time to chat and other times where we get chatty with the folks who join live, such as Mudshark, right there in the chat as usual. Greetings. Hello to the other folks who are here. Let's see. Stuff about me. Burp. This one, hire me. Unfortunate news there is that I had a job offer, past tense, and it went nowhere because the recruiter went silent on me and the company went silent on me, and I finally contacted the recruiter who said, I'm sorry, there was a reorg and the position is gone. So, if you are looking for me, a senior iOS developer who knows how to ship stuff while improving the code and can spread good skills among the teammates, go to my Hire Me page. If you go to qualitycoding.org, there's a big Hire Me button. And that'll take you to a page that you can share with the powers that be to make decisions. Speaking of quality coding, hey, look at that. A new blog post for the first time in forever. Apologies. Part of this strange time for me is I am reluctant to post, accept certain things. Long story. But once I get out of the doldrums and land a job, as long as it's not with Apple, I hope to get back to semi-regular posting. Anyway, this is a new article that stuff I just learned that seemed important to share with people about dealing with strict concurrency if you have XC test cases. And the things I've learned and the things that surprised me. Greetings, Andy Coder. And a couple more folks have joined. Last time, we worked on simpler feedback by limiting the rules, and I want to go back to that because I realized there was something that was bugging Mudshark, and it started to bug me too. We'll go back to the feedback code. But a nice principle, don't implement what you won't use. I see in the code base I'm currently in, code that's there to set up things that's like, I'm going to need this later, and a month later, they still haven't used it. Don't set up what you're not going to use. We found that view with tag, finding a view with a tag was really easy with View Inspector. Very nice. I learned to keep font sizes in mind with Title 1, Title 2 sort of matching Header 1, Header 2. And we'll see what we learned today. But back to our discovery tree. This is the one that I feel like I have a problem with, and I want to put this on pause. We'll come back to setting the appearance of the guess button to disable it. But I was looking at this code. This is to evaluate the game of Mastermind, and it really struck me as incorrect. It works for basically legitimate guesses. The rules, the limited rules that we're working by are that in the secret code, the colors are used, each color is used exactly once somewhere. There's no duplication, no repeating colors, no empty slots. Every one of these will be used somewhere. And if our guess is like that, a set of unique colors from this same set, then this code is correct. But that's not how you play the game. You play the game by, and here I'm gonna say, let's say green, 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 green. What do I expect? I expect one of these is in the right place. So I should get a black peg. Boom. That I think is incorrect here, because we're just saying if it is not an exact match, then if the guess contains the secret anywhere in there, that's not right. So let's fix this before we go on any further. And we were playing with these codes last time, but let me make a failing test. Maybe we need more, let's see. I'll call this, I don't know yet. Well, watch and see. Let's see what happens. The code will tell us the truth if we get the incantation right. So if we have red and green as the secret, and we guess, here's the problem. If we guess green and green, I expect there is one in the correct position, and that is all. That is, this second one matches, that's in the correct position, but this first green would be like, that's not a match. And I believe this will fail by saying 1 and 1. And maybe we need to make this more complicated. But let's try it. What? See, I thought I tried this last time and then it was okay. Yeah, the secret, I'm okay limiting the secret. How does this work? Why does this work? Is it because... Okay, let's find out. What the heck? What are we enumerating through first? That might be part of my confusion. We're enumerating through the secret and not the guess, and maybe that's why this works. Right? If we go through the secret and we say we're looking for red, and we find no red, so moving on. Wow. Wow. Okay, I am surprised. But it's all in which one you go through, not the guess. It's very counterintuitive. Ah, the secret has no duplicates. We know that. And that's what it's taking advantage of. Wow! I thought for sure this would fail. Well then, never mind. We are good. Although I may want to, I think I want to put that down as a test. Let's add the test as documentation. Let me add this back. I was a little hasty in resetting. So this test is for ignore wrong position if we find correct position. We have red, green, and green, green, and this is 1 and 0. I already have this. But it's a little different. It looks a little different to me. Wow. What do you want to do? The fact that this confused the heck out of me, but maybe it confused me because I wasn't looking at the code. I mean, I wasn't looking at the tests. I was looking at the code. Still. Very, very surprising result to me. All right. It looks very much like this first test, except it's going. There's no harm for now to keep both tests. It does help clarify things a bit. So this is correct position. Second, basically the second one. Let's do that. They are slightly different. All right. Then that is a test-only change. Add test about duplicates in guess. Okay. Carrying on. Thank you very much for that diversion. This is live coding, folks. This brings us to the check guess button, which we want is disabled currently when the guess is not full, but it doesn't reflect that in it. We want it to change its appearance. Specifically, we want it to be gray until it's ready to roll. That is, the guess is filled up. And Garbob gave this incantation which intimidated me. And I still don't know why we're reaching into environment, but let's find out. It is time to get into, we'll leave our feedback alone. It is time to get into our game screen. Let's see. Check button is initially disabled. Let's look at that check button again. Hold on. Disable when guess is full? Did I really do that? I don't see it. Let's look at guess. Okay, so we made an is complete thing, but I think it's not being used. Let's find that. So here it is. Okay, so we've got some work to do. Things aren't quite wired up correctly. And this may not even be where we want it. So let's reason about this together. If we have a... Oh, and this is in the game, which is the model. Right. Okay, this is coming back. So we need to ask the game, is complete. That seems funny. Sorry, folks. This seems... Oh, this is the game complete? Because we only have one round, which isn't... That's not quite true if we enter multiple rounds. But right now we only have one round. That's what that is. A little confusing. Okay. So back here, we want the check button to re-render when the game... when the guess is complete. And do we have... Where does guess come in? We've got the guess view. Let us waken up the preview. So there is guess is complete. So we do have that. And let me do the selectable version. How do I see what's what? Okay, so this is the code. That's the guess. Which has the guess binding. So we need it to communicate, or we need the check button. Where's the check button? The check button, which is currently sitting in the body up here. So it also, does it have the guess? Well, it has a guess. it can peek at the guess. So can't we pass the guess into the check button and have it query? Have it ask the guess, is it complete? That's what I'm thinking. Kind of like this. So we pass it down. I should just keep that up. We can pass the state directly as a binding. Right? So I think that's what I did. So we could pass in the whole game, or we could pass in the game guess, and that's what we've gone with right now. Oh. Oh. Well, kind of depends who should make the decision. I see. Which way do we want it? Do we want it to be enabled? Yeah, that's pretty good. I kind of like that. Reset. Okay, so you're thinking we have a binding to is enabled or is disabled. Not sure which. I like it. I think that's very clear. Just looking at the check button, it communicates things. So we can pass in. Okay. Once again, I think we can now do this in a test-driven manner. Pretty sure. Let's do this. What we want is to have a changing, we want to inspect a changing view. And inside of this view, we want to make a couple button taps. I'm doing a lot of copying and pasting here, which kind of smells, but the goal is to get up and running. And the name of this is enables check button when guess is filled. So if we do this, and then like this. I believe this expresses what we want. What do you think? So we set up the game. We've got some preamble here to get references to the code choices. We start off saying, the thing we want to capture, which is whether the button is responsive. So I think we're not working on appearance. I think we're working on this. When the button, we make a couple taps, we check if the button is responsive, and that should be true. I believe this will fail right here because, woo, wasn't expecting it to crash. Oh, thank you. Not done. Yep. Thanks for that. So crashing is surprising. We're setting up. Let's find out why it crashes. Good question. What did we forget? We set up number of code choices with a secret size of 2. Create the game. Go find those choices. Tap. Hey, Eric. We seem maybe not to be advancing? I thought it was advancing. So if I say, yeah, it does advance. Let's find out by running the tests. Why does it crash? Where does it crash? The crash may or may not be helpful because I'm afraid we're going to end up in the thick of View Inspector. We are in View Inspector. Simultaneous access. This is not what I expected. Simultaneous accesses. Bonk. It is hard to see. There we go. Previous access and modifications started at what? Tell us more. I'll try it. Use view instead of SUT. Oh, crap. And actually, does it need... Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and it does need to be inside, otherwise we'll be inspecting the old state. Woo! Good catch. Good learning. Moving a little too fast there, it would seem. All right, we've got a failing test. We are back in business. So right now, we are doing honest to God test-driven development with SwiftUI, starting with making a test fail. And it looks like it's failing the way we want it to. And that's good. So now in the game screen, okay, now we can come here and I think this will work. If we start back at the check button and say, let's see. Let's find out. Is enabled. Binding. Thank you. Right. It's not maintaining things. Wrong thing. I was wondering, why is it asking me to fill in stuff? And that's my, that should have been me listening to my code snippets here. There's a reason I set them up the way I did. So this now becomes disabled is not disabled. And now we fix up this caller and pass in. Let's see if we can do this. Drum roll. Oh. Well, the value will change as we roll, right? Yeah. There's no state. So this is a bit of a conundrum. What is it complaining about? Cannot assign to a property is complete is a get only property, not, boo. Not sure why it can't infer that. Well, fine. We'll pass in the whole guess. We'll move the logic down. It's not as pretty. So this is going to be guess. Like that. Like that. Looks like you can use disable without using binding. Any view has this modifier, so moving is enabled to the initializer. Seems redundant. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. Prediction test will pass. Great. This is a small feature. Update awesome. Is there anything to clean up? So TDD, failing test, passing test, clean stuff up. The code here seems very clear and concise. I don't think there's anything really to clean up. I kind of wonder, this is starting to get long to find my way around in this screen. I almost wonder if we should move some of these out, but I don't know. I suppose, oh, this can be private, can't it? As long as we're not moving it out, we can keep it private. So as long as that builds. So why don't you think we need the binding? I don't follow that. Here's the state, the management of the game itself. And we're passing in a binding is needed if you want to change the state from within the subview, which we are not. Because when the parent view gets redrawn when the game state changes, which will in turn change the button. Oh. So it might be a little aggressive. Well, how could we avoid it? First, let me make this private. This is a low risk change. If it compiles, it's good. So I'm gonna, it's not automated, but so we should only have to pass in the state as a bool var without a binding. Oh. All right, let's try it. Huh. Okay, I want to follow Eric's idea here and say, what if we yoink this up? Yoink. So this is what you're saying. So environment lets you skip over things. I'm wondering if re-rendering like the entire game because the game state changes. I'm getting ahead of myself, trying to optimize for something that's not a problem yet. But first, does this work? It does. So what if we get rid of this now, no longer used. So remove the view from the button. This works because the check button itself isn't contained inside of something else, I suppose. But now we want to enable or disable the whole thing. This is interesting. We're refactoring SwiftUI by leaning on the tests. Okay, let me see if I'm tracking what you folks are saying. We're surviving in part because we have a very shallow hierarchy. Right? Is that right? Where if you really wanted to pass stuff set somewhere else and through however many subviews until it appears way down somewhere else, that's when environment comes into play as a form of dependency injection. My understanding is it's not as awful as I originally thought. I thought it was like, oh no, it's setting a global, but that environment is actually scoped. So you could ask specific questions. It's not like just like exposing it directly, its guts to whoever. So disables the entire tree and disables changing environment. Oh. Well, refactoring for the win. We actually simplified the code by I thought this puzzles me a little bit because my sort of object-oriented mind thinks check button should take care of itself. No one else should know. And yet there's a certain logic to having the game screen say, look, I'm going to be in charge of the check button. Pluses and minuses, this is definitely simpler. And so I'm going with it. So that is a test supported refactoring. Move like that. Oh, let's find out. Okay, So now I feel good about checking this off. And now we'll find out if that becomes hairy for changing the color. Oh, wait. Tests. When you refactor, we factor the code under test. It's also very good to give another look at the code, the test code itself. And maybe this is enough. We'll make I kind of wish I feel like we're repeating this setup quite a bit. And yet we want, let's see, is game used anywhere? No. The SUT is used. The code choices are exposed. Making a helper that returns both the SUT and the code choices. I mean, we could, like as a tuple or a value object. I'm not sure how much it would buy us. It feels like an awful lot to return. We could conceivably while you folks are thinking about all that. It's starting to feel long-winded. What if except here I was going to move stuff into setup. But we're trying to live without setup and teardown. That's one of the experiments. I haven't done TDD as if you meant it. It just haven't had. I'll have to think about that. Next time we make a domain object, let's try TDD as if you meant it. But we're trying to avoid setup and teardown. Here I was just about to say, let's create it, but okay, I'm going to call the test good enough. Let's see if we can't catch up with your thread here and say the color so what I'd like to test is the fill color of the rounded rectangle. Since we're no longer disabling, okay. I think I'm catching up with you folks. You're dashing ahead of me, which I don't mind. So do we need the environment now? Let's do it. Yeah, aye, Garbob. Let us try looking at Garbob's garble, making sense of it. All right, let's start with a test. So I'd like to target the rounded rectangle, which is I can tag it here. This is like check button background. And it looks like we can't do that first because it swallows the type. So let's move it down. This should still build. And we can write a test back at the game screen tests where we say yeah, we're going to need some helpers. But carrying on. So the check button background is initially, what is it supposed to be? This gray. Yeah, I don't think we'll have another button like this. This will be a one-off. Still, we should consider whether it makes things easier or harder. So we want to find the check button background. Let's do that first. Whoops. And make sure that... Oh, something I learned that putting main actor on everything, the reason I've been doing that is that for a while you couldn't do that at the XC test case level. We used to, and then we couldn't. But now in Xcode 16, we can. So that'll be a cleanup thing. Right now, let's make sure that this test passes, that we can find the check button background. We can. Having found it, we should be able to check the color. The fill color. It's suggesting something here, and I don't know if it's even remotely correct. Let's find View Inspector. And where to find the fill color? The fill color is on a shape, I think. Is that right? Yes, it is. Okay. So shape color? No? Shape should still be good. Let's rerun this one. And let's try foreground color. Nope. What went wrong? No foreground color. We want the fill color. So let's look for shape tests. See what we have. I don't know. Good discussion over there about whether to extract a new button style. Failing on this. What can we ask a shape? Making sure I'm still in View Inspector. Shape. I don't know if we can check the color. Fill style. What the heck's that? Yeah, that's not us. Eric, should we test the background color change? I see it more like changing UX, but the behavior of the app doesn't change if background color would be changed in the future. But I would like to test the background color. Like I'm trying to TDD this thing. It is a behavior. It's an observable change. So behavior isn't just what the user does. It is also feedback to the user. Great question. And with UIKit, this is something like it would be over and done with because we could just check state. So what I'm used to doing with UIKit is not doing actual rendering. Snapshots are great if you want to see a general appearance of something. But with UIKit, by changing state, that state is then reflected in the appearance, so we can test the appearance by checking the state. Does that make sense? What I don't know is if we have a way to do this without resorting to a snapshot. Thank you. Let's look at how we did the color of the guess. What if we pass the color to the button? We could, but I wish we didn't have to. This is me. That's an interesting idea for a workaround, though. I wish we didn't have to, because I wish that the thing could manage itself. let's go to Andy Coder's question of how did we check this for let's see what we have in here. Color. So we were getting the shape foreground color. I thought I tried that and it didn't work. Let us go and try that. Wait, let's just try shape and make sure that alone succeeds. Okay, now let's try with foreground color. And it doesn't like it. It's a different sort of beast, it seems. That there is no foreground color on a rounded rectangle. Shape view of rounded rectangle. So it's constrained. Let's see if we can find it. If we can, it would make life so much easier. Shape view. How is the shape view constrained to a certain type? Here's the actual location of the error deep inside of View Inspector somewhere. If it's text, grab the text color. Otherwise, get a key path on foreground color. I rather think I'm probably needing something that that View Inspector isn't going to provide for us. That it's probably some other key. So, what do? Do we go for Mudshark's workaround, or do we have it so that we use a snapshot? Not my favorite, but might be necessary. Even if we use Mudshark's idea, suppose we can test the color out at this level and just count on it and say, oh, well, it's not tested. Is it perhaps not the button? Is it a rounded rectangle inside the button? It is, in fact, a rounded rectangle inside the button label. Let's bring it back. And I think that makes sense because we want to be able to check the whole thing. I did find it, but I can't ask it the right question. These are the edges of View Inspector, I think, where it's never going to be 100% I hate to take a snapshot. All right. Let's pass it in. This, to me, this breaks encapsulation. Eric, I meant a UI change rather than UX. Color might be for a light-dark theme, can be adapted. Yeah. Still doesn't change behavior, but I agree that it depends on the level of behaviors that you want to cover with tests. Might snapshot tests be the way for visual testing? Maybe. I hate taking a snapshot of a small portion unless we can create it. The rounded rectangle itself is inside of SwiftUI core, and it is a shape. Let's see what it's got. And I think that's it. Good questions. With snapshots, I am used to taking both light and dark mode snapshots. Decisions. What if we snapshot, if we can snapshot the check button by itself, living inside of something that has an environment? Arg. So I'm reluctant to snapshot the whole screen because this is going to change a lot. And that'll mean every time this changes, as soon as we have more rounds, add any sort of UI in here, the test will break, which is not what we want. Let's reset. That's been long, way too long. Get back to green and figure out a strategy. To move forward, if we pass in the color, I just don't like the breaking of encapsulation. Tell you what if we use the environment trick to move the disabled state back inside of the check button so that we can know the check button is managing itself. It is calling out to something, whether or not it should be enabled or disabled. Let's try that. Fun times. So right now, if everything is passing golden, we're great. Wait, what's this? I think that's a ghost. Let's try it again. one problem I found with the filtering of issues is that, let's say you're filtered by test. If a test failure comes, it doesn't update. It's quite a problem. Okay, so we are clear. Let's do some refactoring to bring the disabled state back down and do Garbob's thing of setting it an environment variable. Okay, help me. First thing. So this is calling environment. Something is enabled. How do I make drop color, the fill method for now, use default pick. What if we avoid this question for now so that we can move forward? Basically, love the thought. What if our focus on the appearance is leading us, keeping us from making quick progress on the actual behavior, including the disabled state? That is a good question. I like it. So let's see if we can't simplify. Thank you, Eric. This. Come on. Give this a draw for me. So if it's not a rounded rectangle, but it's just a big old label saying check. Wrong view. No, I think it's the right one. Aha, it worked. It does work. Let's try some experiments here. Is there a way? This thing is never going to go away now. Is there a way to kill the preview and have it? Yes. Okay, so that does work. Its default state is doing the right thing. Let's see if we can't do. Ooh. Better. And hang on. Let me get the font. Watch real. Keep your eye on this. It's going to change. Very briefly, the text turned to blue. Let us just try to make it better, bigger. Whoop. Let's see if we can just set the height. Looks like the border goes around the tight around the text. Regardless, let's I move it. Oh, it's not lovely, but it avoids the pain that we were feeling. I'll take it. I will take it. And you're exactly right, Eric. At this point, there's no need for tests because we're relying on, we're relying on the uh, the built-in default behavior. We know that disabling it, we know we are disabling it and enabling it, and there's no need to test further than that. Wow. Thank you for your patience through this bit of misadventure. I do think that might be worth adding snapshots on this later so that we can build this up. In any case, for now, let me check this in. What have we done? We've changed the behavior. Use default kind of long, should communicate. Okay. I want to take some notes on this before I lose my mind. What did we do? No, we'll come back. We'll come back. We're almost at time. So good. We're going to call this done for now, but I'm going to make a note that sorry if this is too small for you to read. There we go. That is something I want to think about. But for now, love it. This is the kind of thing where it's very important for people to pair not just to pair, but to work in teams. And I would sit at eBay with the designer, the UX and UI designer, and he would say, let's have this appearance, and I would try it and find it hard, and I'd say, this is hard, but if we do this other thing, we can ship it much sooner. And he'd go, oh, well, that's not bad. Okay, let's do that. And it's a conversation, it's an agreement. This whole notion that you ought to be able to deliver pixel perfect from the Figma is getting away from it's just waterfall. There's nothing agile about it. There's no extreme programming in it at all. It is simply waterfall. Hey, Grio, welcome, first time chatter with a great question and a lovely avatar there. How important would you say unit testing is for solo devs? It depends. What does it depend on, John? Sorry, my brain is still sort of frying on this thing. It depends on if you want to maintain code and change it. That's all. That's the only criteria for whether or not I want unit tests. If you want to just hack something out and say it is what it is, and it works or it doesn't, and it doesn't change ever, then you don't necessarily need unit testing, although I think it would still make me faster. But as soon as you have an app, say, that you publish, you're going to be making changes to that thing. You're going to be fixing issues, and you're going to be adding new features. Then, absolutely essential to do to have unit tests, and the best way to do that is with test-driven development. Nice question. So I see no reason not to write unit tests unless you're going to throw the code away. Would you suggest I start learning more with your blog? Come on over to qualitycoding.org. The book will help you with, as long as you're not doing SwiftUI. That's what this live stream is about, is exploring the interaction of test-driven development with SwiftUI. But if you do anything that's not SwiftUI, including UIKit, which is where the book specializes, then the book is a cleaner thing than going through my blog posts, which are sort of random, you know. But happy to help you. Ping me on Mastodon or on Blue Sky as you have questions, or on LinkedIn. Happy to help. Let us call it. You're fully SwiftUI. Yeah. For fully SwiftUI, this stream is the right place to be, because it hasn't become blog posts yet, because I'm to search for a job and stay focused. So welcome to the stream, Grio. Let us call it. My brain is clearly on the fritz. What did we do? We worked on, there was the question about calculation. We worked on disabling. Okay. Help me with your thoughts on what did we learn? What did we observe? This is the first thing we did, was I had doubts about the feedback code, serious doubts that it worked. In fact, it does. It is a little counterintuitive, but it works. And so we added a test. The purpose of tests is to keep you from worry. How's that? Keeping worry away. Yeah, we sort of were running into the edges of where View Inspector isn't comprehensive. So that's a question. I think that's something I would like to do, because I would like the code to maintain encapsulation. That is one thing. I'm really trying not to. And I feel like moving the disabled state up, it worked, but I'd like to get back to that and move it back down and use the environment. Fall back on Garbob's initial suggestion. Oh, hey, welcome all your other folks who have been here for a while, I guess. Glad to have you. What else did we learn? Oh, there was Eric's trick. Hard to test. So that was a great trick. Simplify. Thank you. And I will point out that we are doing, this is real TDD with SwiftUI. And I think that's a win. Even though it was frustrating to run into the edges of where View Inspector sort of stops helping us, I am very pleased that we're able to move the disabled modifier up and run the tests and see it pass, just like that. And even though we couldn't tell the difference in the appearance at that point, I had confidence in the tests, and so we were doing test-driven SwiftUI. Fantastic win. We'll come back next time. Schedule. Next week I will be on. So one more stream, and then I'll be taking off for the rest of the year. So that is the schedule going forward for this stream. For folks who have watched on YouTube, congratulations. My gosh, you watched the whole thing. Hopefully you sped it up, because that was a lot of silent thinking. So congratulations. Do give this a like. That helps get the word out about these things. And thank you, all you folks who participate in the chat. It is super helpful to me to have you. And I'm really, really grateful for you. So thanks a lot. That is true. Here I was sitting in silence, and you folks were having a good discussion. So way to go. This thing is bigger than I am. I love it. Take care, and I will see you again then next week, and that will be it for this year. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah. If you work on at a company and have a position that is amenable to someone in the Pacific, the West Coast of the United States time zone, or is local to or close enough for hybrid work in San Jose, please go to my Hire Me page on quality coding. All right. And I'd love to have a chat with the manager or whoever. That's it then. Take care. See you next week. Ciao.